I just can't believe how it makes sense.
Call this meeting to order. 7:10.
Look at what we're doing.
So we. Everybody got the have the last minutes meeting minutes from the last minute.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Want a motion to approve as submitted?
yes.
So moved.
Yes. Okay, motion been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And so to get on to the agenda while we're here is Gary went with our recommendations to get the driveway situated for the sale so he can divide his property. And he's got a sketch.
Yeah.
Here's the proposal.
Some more stuff, guys. What that top page is there is, Tim Wiley has done a preliminary, map for me. And because of the zoning requirement for 10 feet from the driveway to the property, he felt that the better choice would be to go straight, like that first picture, and do the right of way. That's not something that either myself or Greg Harcheski, who's gonna buy it, or even my lawyer feels is in everybody's best interest.
Okay.
So on the second page is what you guys have from the first meeting on how I would like to split the property. That allows an entrance for each piece, no easements, nothing like that. The problem with that is because of the location of the two entrances, it does not, as it sits, allow for 10 feet from the new property line to the driveway. So I'm here today to ask for a variance on that 10-foot minimum.
How many feet is it?
I'm sorry?
I can't see. How many feet is it?
It's really only about 2 feet from where the actual apron stops, where the dividing line will be.
Basically, so what you're saying is on that line, that'll be the driveway, the parking area will be toward the house.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, by jogging that property line as it is, gives each parcel its own entrance and a fair amount of parking area. Greg has a printout. There's certain requirements of footage on how you park, that's required. So
Right.
by splitting it the way that we have it there, provides both parcels with adequate parking.
And
if
it's
you-
your parcel that you're keeping, but it
Correct.
doesn't have the 10-foot setback.
My parcel does.
Does.
Yeah, I'm the one on the left.
And if you move this line over, it doesn't necessarily have to be straight, but if you
Well,
came up and over, so you're getting away from that corner, that
Yep.
doesn't work?
It's this entrance here. There's the
Yeah, no, I
second
see.
driveway.
Yep.
right, yeah.
But I'm talking about, so you're well over 10 feet here,
Correct.
and when you get up to this corner, you're what, down of 3, 4, 5 feet? What
No.
is it?
It will actually be from the corner of my building, 10 feet to the property line. But where I was under the impression the problem is at the street, at the sidewalk. That the entrance, the driveway entrance
It's
isn't.
should have been over there more, right?
Right.
You're trying to get this driveway here for a separate driveway.
Oh,
That's
this
where
is-
you're,
This is where the problem is?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, I
yeah.
misunderstood that.
And you can see it a little bit better on the drawing here. This is where this is where the actual driveway is. It's hard to see with the trees. But by jogging the property and putting a entrance on both pieces, only allows that dividing line to be right down along the side of that existing driveway.
there's really this line here should be over in the center of this driveway. For you to make your setback.
No, it should actually be more this way
More that
because
way.
here's the driveway here. So to get 10
Mhm.
feet from the left side
You gotta
to
move
the
it.
property line, yeah, we would
Oh.
have to move it over.
And taking that tree down is a problem?
I've requested that. I've been in touch with, Chris Toomey about taking those down. I don't know if he's had a chance to come out and take a look at them.
Would that solve the problem if he came up here?
I suppose I could jog that property line, this line here, even farther that way.
But basically the 10-foot setback is from the road into here, correct? Right,
I was under the impression it was 10 feet from this side property line to the driveway.
right.
There was a minimum of 10 feet there.
Well,
So if you were able to bring this property line over here,
see, on
Yeah.
the-
Yeah.
How far where's the state property marker? Is that basically right there?
I honestly don't know.
Okay. I do know
Are you
they,
missing road frontage? Is that the problem? If you move that over?
I believe it's 20 feet road frontage and that, is 71. So if we
it's not
divided
a
it,
road issue.
oh, the problem is you got a tree that's in your. I
Yeah,
mean,
but who
I-
cares
no,
about
no,
tree
that
for
tree,
front?
that
The tree.
tree, the tree's over
Yeah,
right
the
here.
center of the trees over there.
Center
that's a
tree,
weed.
Yeah.
it's just that the
Yeah,
driveway,
Right,
It's underneath that.
but the problem is that the driveway is too close to the property line. So if you move the property line over here, it solves the problem. You don't have to kill anything. You just say this is the property line and you no longer, can't you be 10 feet? If you went right in the middle, would you be 10 feet from this driveway and 10 feet from that
should
driveway?
be, yeah, should be.
so as you pull in here. This is lawn here,
Yep,
right here,
a little bit under that tree, correct, yeah.
okay.
I mean, you would have an issue as far as, you know, you basically would be intruding on each other, I suppose, for parking if this guy had to wiggle into that area, but I mean, this solves the zoning issue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know why I didn't think of that, to be honest with you. You're shifting that over probably another 8 feet to get the minimum of 10.
So you go over
It's
here and
because
then head
anything
right,
here-
as soon as you get out of the
Just trying to
driveway.
see
you head
why-
back over.
That wasn't done. There must be some reason why they didn't do that.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, I think that's a simple solution.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's not going to, create a problem with either of those parking lots size wise.
I
You know,
wouldn't think so.
because I park, you can actually see my vehicle there. I park up against this side.
Yeah.
This building, they'll park along this way. And I think Greg is anticipating a parking on an angle.
Because I do know. They did have an issue with the 10-foot setback and the driveway apron.
Okay,
There's nothing on the driveway apron. That was because the town had, like on the town road, there's so much off the road they have access to.
right.
It's from the center of the road to the edge is 22 feet, but they had it up on Truscott where the guy just built that new house.
Okay.
But does that make any difference to the property line?
Couldn't.
Shouldn't,
So if it does make any, I mean, this is gonna be what it's gonna be. The state's gonna do what it does. And
Yeah.
they have that right. But I just think this is just an arbitrary line that nobody sees. Once you put it in the deed, it's done, it's over.
Right.
And you both got the same driver, you're not changing anything there. It's just that this parcel owns
A little bit more. That's an easy solution and that would, negate the need for a variance on the 10-foot setback.
yeah.
Seems like that would work. Now, if there's a problem with that, I mean, we could talk about the variance, but it's better not to have a variance if you don't need it.
I agree. I agree. It is a simple solution. I feel a little silly not having thought of it, to just shift that line a little bit.
Right.
Why don't you run it past whoever you're working with and just see if that makes any sense?
Okay.
And then if you need to do the variance, I mean, we can have another meeting and get it done.
All right.
I think
The nice thing about it and working with Greg Karczewski is that once this is done, it's just a legality. We're not putting up any kind of divider in
Right.
that front parking lot.
Right,
So logistically, it's not gonna be a problem where that line is, yeah. We're doing all of this because if down the road, if I should sell or he should sell, we wanna make sure it's black and white, who's got what.
Yeah,
Right.
But you know, as far as, like I say, logistically, it won't create a problem where that line falls.
and you're like what? How many feet
20
here?
feet according to this.
From the elbow.
Well, it kind of looks that way. You got a 20.5 foot in there. Does sound right from your house
That-
to the line.
That seems, I think, from the corner of the house to this point here. We're planning on a minimum of 10 feet from that front corner of my house to the property line to meet that side setback.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Keep that 10 foot. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
because,
that's the
but
building.
see this line here? If you look, that's
Yeah.
saying, 20 feet out to there.
Is it to there or is it out to there?
No, I think it goes
Oh,
up to
yeah, it
there.
goes out
yeah.
to there.
Yeah, because
So
if
you're
this
pro-
is 21,
Okay,
that looks pretty much
so you're
right about in
20
the
feet
middle.
there, so you're at least 10 feet.
Yeah,
And like you say, if you did kick that over,
yeah,
that line would just be a little bit more of a straighter,
exactly. We can just extend this down and then go straight down. To get the minimum of 10 feet from where
It's
this,
gonna be 10 feet off the corner of that building, is that?
it will be a
Would- would
minimum,
it
yeah,
ever-
yep, definitely.
Okay,
Okay.
So they're saying the driveway is 12 feet.
Scott, do you have anything to add to that?
I think I was following you. I'm looking at, I believe what you're suggesting is towards the road side, shifting that dotted line south to meet that 10-foot setback requirement. Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah,
All right. Yeah, no, as long as I was following you, I think that is the answer. It's either that or shift your driveway towards the house and leave it as it is. I don't think you have any other options really. But those are pretty good ones.
Yeah. I did call the state just to see what my plan B would be.
yeah,
And it's not a big deal to actually move that driveway farther south. There's a permit that needs to be made. They come out, they do a site survey, look at the sight lines, but you know, there's plenty of sight lines going in both directions.
right, right.
But if I can avoid that, you know.
Yeah, just by moving,
Just by moving
moving
that.
The driveway's got to be 10 foot off a property line.
Yeah, that's in accordance with table 6 and table 2 and
Driveways are bordering here.
Yeah.
You know, both driveways are bordering right after that.
Hmm.
Neither of these guys are 10 foot off of either,
Yeah, but now. they're
either
calling-
driveway.
Aren't they calling it a parking lot now instead of a driveway? So driveway is just coming into the property.
yeah,
I don't know.
That's
the
kind of how
language
I had it.
language in the spec says parking spaces, driveways, and parking lots. It's all kind of lumped together in the same statement, unfortunately.
I mean, as soon as you get whatever you want to consider a driveway, you're automatically you're ordering each other anyway. You're on
Yeah.
top of each other anyway.
Right.
So if you're gonna say 20 foot in is a driveway, then the parking lot stops. 20 foot in, you're encroaching on both people's property anyway.
Yeah. But if you do like you're saying, right, you gotta keep that 10 foot away, right? Is that what you're saying? So that if you come up here to make that work. And then you shift over this way and back up.
Right, I mean, whatever they're saying the driveway is.
Yeah.
What's your driveway? Is it 20 feet in? Is it 10 foot in and then the parking lot starts?
That's a good question.
You know?
Mm.
And, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I just interpreted it as a portion coming off of the road onto
Right,
property.
really, it could be 20 feet in and then you're saying you're in the parking lot.
we had a similar thing with, Drury. Was it Drury up on, Granite Avenue? You
Well,
missed,
Your memory's better than mine. I don't
Yeah.
remember that. That was a long time ago.
yeah, he came in and asked
Yeah, I
him,
remember him coming in, but
we
that was when
granted,
I was younger.
me too.
well, on our regs, I mean, basically, it says no parking area or portion thereof, including parking aisles, driveway, and access aisles shall be located within 10 feet of any side or rear property line, except for shared driveways, shared access aisles between adjoining properties.
So that brings you back to a, right of way, right, for each other? Is a shared driveway?
No, they're dividing it.
They're
Right.
So
divided.
really,
So
you
what-
guys both gotta stay 10 foot back off that line all the way down through there.
That's right. In order to be completely compliant without a variance, you need basically a 20-foot buffer straddling that line.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. so
That
that's-
keep, that puts both of those properties in compliance without a variance.
Right.
I don't think there's enough space there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know for
Yeah, I think
sure
it's-
with the drawings I have, but it doesn't look like there is.
Yeah, that's gonna not leave a lot of room for parking.
Right. And that's where
So
we
you're
did
40
that.
some feet, right? I can't read it, but you're,
37 feet, I think 4 inches. Or whatever,
you seeing that
right here, 30. or
37 to there, and then he's got 20 on his side.
This is
See,
the
this
arrow
original-
here and arrow here, so that goes from here to here is 20. Something 4 inches.
Yeah, this one
And
shows
this is 20
42,
something.
42 feet between the two buildings.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So you
that-
can do it.
you just make it.
So then you still gotta bring it over here. To get that 10 foot. And then you gotta shift your line wherever the pieces meet. So you get that 10 foot minimum.
Yeah, cause
Does
they,
that work?
yeah.
I think that would work. Or move this house over here a little bit.
but here, yeah, I mean, basically, that's not a that's part of the old parking lot, correct? Here, and that's just where you used to drive around to the back shed.
We used to, that back parking lot's going away.
So if you call it lawn instead of a parking space, does that get you out of a variance? Can you park on your lawn and call it a lawn? Probably not. I don't know, if you got 42 feet like like here, it seems as though
You got enough room to do it.
You got enough room
You
to
gotta
do
be
it.
centered.
just keep your line centered and it makes
Okay.
no difference to
Keep
your.
10 foot off this corner. And then head out here somewhere.
Okay. 10 feet from that existing apron.
I think might be. It seems like that would work. I mean, if you got. This is, that line is way up here, right? That's the, yeah, you should have enough room. We just gotta move that one that way a little bit and this one this way a little bit.
So, but if this is 42 feet between, I need to maintain. So this line would have to come up to here, correct?
That's
To
what-
maintain the 10 foot and
Right.
10 foot,
Yeah,
and then go this way and then,
That's-
actually this way and then over.
yeah. I think that's what we're suggesting, right?
Okay,
And that gives you no variances. But you gotta be able to talk to your neighbor, I guess, to get cars in and out of there without.
yeah. Yeah, the only thing about doing that is that really takes a lot of this parking area away. And I don't know if it would meet I think he has to have 3 or 4 parking spaces, for the apartments.
Oh.
Don't know if that's gonna. leave
Yeah,
enough
but
room.
This is your house, Gary?
Yeah,
If you're not gonna use this driveway, you only need 10 feet.
right.
Oh, and give him the others.
Then he gets
The way
that.
the way,
Oh, I see what
Your
you're saying.
your
Okay.
driveway, your
Yeah.
driveway can't be within 10 foot of his boundary line. So you'd be okay here
Okay,
if you're not gonna use that as a driveway.
correct.
then
No,
if you just move this one over to here, and come on an angle, more of a
Yeah.
angle.
Okay,
He's not using this for parking area over here, so he don't have to be 20 feet. He can be 10 feet
Right.
off the property line.
okay.
But down the road, they could push you back 10 more feet off this property line that you can't use for driveway. To be in compliance. His driveway
See,
can't
we-
be within 10 feet of this line.
Why I have this one and
Right,
this
right,
one and
but
they're
this
two different
property line
ones.
is,
Yeah.
Like, we're talking
Why
about
would
this one
that-
right now.
why would that
we're talking
Right,
about.
this area, right from here to here,
Yeah.
is moving this over more this way.
Neither of
And then
them supposed to
moving
have a
that
driveway
out.
within 10 foot of this
Moving
line.
this like
Mhm.
10 feet this way.
That's the whole problem.
And then when
He
you
needs a
get to
10 foot-
here,
This guy
come
needs a
out
10
more,
foot
is that it?
setback.
Right, and he's already got.
Well,
He's got it
he's not
here,
gonna use
but
it
in
as
here-
driveway.
Mhm.
That's enough.
Realistically, these guys both should have 10 foot of grass on either side before their parking lot starts.
So the parking lot's being considered part of the driveway and part of the requirements for the setback.
That's the
Right.
way they got it in the book, in our
Okay,
law, but this
Right.
is. Is there enough, this is just a shadow, right? What's in here right now?
yeah, that's where I
That's where
parked
you-
the cars.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a car.
The,
there's a
the
car
parking
park,
lot,
you can see
the,
one.
you know, the parking area, it comes to just probably about 3 or 4 feet shy of the border.
But if your parking lot's here, you should have the 10-foot difference, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, down the road, if either one wanted to be a pain in the neck, could make them push their driveway back 10 feet. You know,
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah.
But all everybody's getting along and everybody's fine, yeah, they're gonna use it like they have been, and
Right, right.
so be it. But if Gary decides to sell, new owner comes in, says, listen, you need a 10 foot setback, you gotta pull 10 foot off that line for your driveway.
Well, once this goes through and the properties are divided and sold, then it becomes a whole different type of
Right.
way to do it. You're not talking about variances now. You're talking about, well, I want you to sell me a piece of this property or whatever it is. So that, I mean, I got a property line that runs through, Conalog's kitchen. And we just had okay, so you redo the deed
Right.
but somebody,
You can't push this driveway back 10 feet.
I could, yeah, I could. It requires a permit with the state, but I was given the impression that wouldn't be really a problem at all.
I'm just saying it kind of would divide it up evenly like you have it drawn here
Yeah.
now.
You know, ideally, my goal initially, if you remember that straight line, was divide this right down the middle,
Right.
move this
Right.
driveway up, have this be a driveway that comes to a parking area in the
Right.
back. But Greg, if we have no other choice, it would have to be a viable option. That wasn't his first choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think your two choices now is to kick this line back, get 10 foot off of here
Yep,
and go with that, or leave it. I don't know if you can sign an agreement or how it goes, or down the road. If you complain, he's gotta push that driveway back. You leave it like it is for now.
How wide, does that driveway come underneath this tree?
it does a little bit,
It's
yeah.
said
So how wide is that?
Right here, it's not
driveway
very
overall?
wide.
That apron's about 12 feet.
Yeah,
yes.
I saw it on here. One of these pages, maybe it was this one. Yeah, there's only 12 feet there, so he can't push it back. You could get 2 feet out of it, but
Hmm.
no, you can't. You gotta push it that way.
Now, question,
8 more feet that way.
okay. Question for you, how wide does a driveway have to be? No?
wait, I don't think, I don't think there's any specifics. on
I
it.
think-
Let's see, what's in here. There's only 42. just-
So again,
I would
look,
say minimum 10, no?
yeah, looking at, Plan B, if we did shift that driveway to the north and then just have that be a passage to a parking lot in the back, I'm wondering if that's 42 feet between the building, we divide that in half, that's 21. So 21 minus the 10 feet I need for setback would leave about 11 feet for a driveway. So I'm just in the back of my mind thinking, okay, is that a viable Plan B or not?
Right.
But if we can get away with an 11 foot, then that would go right up to the house. That's the other thing.
Right.
Don't see anything in here about measurements of driveways or
So tell me,
anything.
tell me one more time about the state, do what you want to do. They said it's not a big deal to do it?
Yeah, no, all we would be doing is the existing driveway shifting it about 10 feet to the north.
Take
Right.
this over here.
Right, so what's involved in that is there's a permit, you just fill out the permit, what it is you want to do. They come out and they basically are looking at sight lines. They just want to make sure that where the new driveway is going to be isn't gonna have a problem with sightlines. If all of a sudden you wanted to shift it, now it's behind a stone wall
Mm-hmm.
and you can't see, it would be a problem.
Right.
Where that location is, there's plenty of, of visual, well, going south, down to Bragg Street, down to, God, I can actually see from the road, I can see the old Brewer Brothers.
Yeah.
And then going north over the train tracks, and I can almost see Decker and Beebe going north. So I don't believe that there would be any kind of
So is
inhibit the sightline.
that solves the problem as well, does it not?
Yeah, yeah. It solves the problem with not having to have any kind of a variance. Obviously it creates a little bit of more work for me and more time.
Yeah.
Closing was supposed to be tomorrow, but because of how busy Tim is, I haven't even gotten a finalized map yet.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So, I know Greg's first choice wasn't to have a parking lot in the back. It's a pretty nice backyard, but if that is the only option that makes sense,
Well, I think you have two options. You can try this one.
okay,
You can try it, and if that fails, if you look at it and think about it overnight and that fails, then you have to go to this one.
yeah,
And then the third option is the variance that we have to say, okay, it's 6 feet instead of 10 or whatever it is. And we
right,
have to decide whether we're willing to do that, which it doesn't seem like it's. First two options seem like the better way to go.
sure,
And I think you think that as
I
well.
agree.
Yeah.
It really, the simplest thing is just to take this section of that line and just shift it that way to get me 10 feet from the side of the driveway. With the understanding that there is this invisible 10-foot setback on both sides of the property line.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be a
Mhm.
Yeah, but
driveway.
hang on, if, we gotta determine where the driveway is. How far does the driveway come out? Cause if the driveway only comes out to here, he has a 10-foot setback off his driveway. He doesn't need a variance. He has a 10-foot setback. He's got grass, trees, whatever off his property line. And then this is parking area.
Well,
Right
actually,
now, all the way into where he can go, he has a 10-foot setback. He, he's not using this property. There's not a driveway there. There's nothing there.
Right.
Right.
Once they start here, neither of them have a 10-foot setback. The way I look at it is he
Right, so
don't
the-
need it.
Mhm.
No, he has his setback here.
There is, if, exactly, so when does the driveway, but the thing is, the way it reads in the thing is, whether it's a parking lot or a driveway, it's the same issue. You still have to have 10 feet.
that's how I.
Mhm.
He does, he has it. This house doesn't have it.
That's
Well,
why
that-
you gotta
yeah.
move this over this way. Then they both have the 10 feet off the property line. The problem is that the driveway and the parking are synonymous. They have to be both 10 feet off the property line. So moving this over does that for them. He's got 10 foot off his property line and then back.
Yeah,
opens
but
that
it's
up.
not, right at the moment, it's not his problem. It's this house's problem.
Right. That's why they gotta bring this way.
I mean, this is your house
Correct,
Yeah.
and you're kind of like making yourself even,
Smaller, yeah.
you know what I
yeah.
mean?
It's.
Like you said, coming down straight, coming like maybe going in and giving something like that, where you'd park in the back,
Yeah,
you would be keeping you'd be keeping a lot more
But
frontage
if
for
he were to
yourself.
sell these, he wants to sell this piece.
Mhm.
This is this guy's problem to move his driveway. He doesn't meet the setback. This house
Right,
meets
but
the
he's
setback.
trying to make
So if
this,
this guy is fine with that, knowing that he does not meet the setback, and if somebody buys this house and complains one day, he's gotta move his driveway. Right now, Gary's allowing him to be
Up against. his-
up against his driveway. It's
Yeah.
not Gary's problem. It's the guy who buys this house.
right, but you're talking to the guy that bought this house now, right? There's
well, we're in the process of on it, yeah.
So
He's in
you
the
got,
process.
you're trying to
Mm.
appease him and solve all the issues for him.
Exactly, yeah, I'm
before
trying to
the
make
They
this
don't
all
need to
legal,
make it,
yeah.
yeah.
But I
think
see what
it's
you're saying.
legal.
If you keep, and, well, no, it's not, because he doesn't have it. Property. That's where the problem.
He
is.
has it. He's just using it as driveway right now. He
Right.
can move his driveway over.
Right, you could, that's the option. Second option is you move your driveway over, then you're away from the property line. Right now, it's too close, so you gotta move the property line here to make them both make it.
Right,
But I would say, you talk to him and talk to whoever you're doing the planning with, but whatever one option you guys like. I think this is option one, then that's,
mhm,
everybody's happy. Option two is make the new driveway cut.
right. Well, in the sense of time, in the sense of expense, because if I did a driveway and a parking lot in the back, that's got to come out of my pocket. The simplest thing I agree is right now, if we're 2 feet, this proposed property line is 2 feet from the edge of the driveway. If this line 8 feet that way, so I get 10 feet from the dividing line to the edge of the driveway. I
Right,
appreciate
right,
you thinking
right.
about me with a small parcel, but that's
Right.
really irrelevant.
Right.
Luckily between Greg and I said to him today, I said, look, I said, I have no desire or need
Yeah.
to make any division on that parking lot. We'll both use it. We'll both continue to use our, both entrances, but we just need to make it all legal and clear for if either of us should sell.
Because down the road, if you do decide to sell,
Right.
he's gonna.
Right. The other thing that I agreed with Greg too, is that if I should ever decide to sell, I will give him first
Yeah,
refusal.
yeah.
Sure.
So, and knowing Greg, he'd probably snatch it up in a minute. But, things change. We never
Sure.
know. Can't
Exactly.
go on that, but. I think if it's in agreement with everybody, the simplest and quickest solution is just for
Yep,
me to
shift
shift
it.
that line.
Let's shift that line
South
over
and then
8
the
feet.
diagonal come down a little more.
Yep,
From that point
Yep.
down, come off that point on an angle,
Yeah,
right?
Come out,
Then-
come out a little lower on the angle.
and if it should become a problem, if I should sell. And the new owner says to Greg, hey, your driveway is not 10, well, your driveway would be 10 feet. I guess we have to kind of clarify the parking lot. Is that also included in this 10-foot setback?
Well, yeah,
Alright.
It
that's
is.
what,
Yeah.
That's what
It's
it's
the
So
same
then if I sell my house, the new guy could say, hey, look, this is the line. You can't come 10 feet, to that
Right.
line.
That's why you want this line kind of dead center if possible. You have to between the two houses.
Right, right.
You gotta be dead center between these two houses. So I think this line's gotta get more. That's a shit. That a shadow line?
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, I think you gotta get over here in the center more.
yeah, okay.
well, when you redraw it, whoever's doing this for you.
Yep.
We'll just have to measure and put a pin in or something.
Yeah, Greg and I, we kind of wanted to give me a little bit more of a backyard because he was getting a little bit more of a front yard. The only thing is this is the garden right here, and I wanted to try to maintain a 3-foot gap so I could run a mower up to it, because
Yep.
this black line shows a fence. I intend on putting up a 6-foot fence. But if that has to get moved more towards my house to get right in the middle of the 42 feet, and that's what has to happen. None of it's a deal breaker for me. It's all just, how are we gonna
Right.
come up with the solutions?
Yeah, this line got pushed over from the last one.
Yeah, it looks like it pushed it over there.
But no, the other thing though is this happens to be 42 feet. If this line was say down the middle, he's gotta have 10 feet from the property line for but that's for the driveway. That only pertains to the driveway that's out in front, right? So basically, this property line from here back makes no difference.
Right,
It's only where the parking is.
Right.
exactly.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm happy to talk to Greg tomorrow about that and kind of run this by him and see what he said, but
Yeah, I would draw this line right up the center, unless you wanna kick it over this way. And then, come on, you gotta stay dead center between these two houses somehow and then
Well,
kick it again.
in this particular area, yes. Up here, you
You can do
kick it
whatever.
any way you want.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
take half that lawn. or
well,
whatever.
pretty much from, here forward is really any parking lot area is really where that all pertains.
Right.
Right,
Right.
So as it is now, unless someone says, look, I don't want you doing anything on the 10 feet on both sides would suffice that 10-foot setback. Even kind of where this is now until we get to the road where we need to be 10 feet off of the driveway.
Right.
So technically, correct me if I'm wrong, this doesn't have to move because we've got 10 feet on this side and we've got 10 feet on this side.
Yeah, no, that does
Right.
not have to.
Okay,
And you can move that from that point, this point here, just move, go from there to 8 feet.
Yep. yep, exactly.
And that would
Okay.
give you the,
Because I hate to shift this anymore this way,
right,
because that's gonna take away from his parking area. And this picture's a little deceiving because I do have a lot more underneath the shade of the trees,
sure.
compared to his.
I'm just trying to understand. So is this kind of what you're shifting this over here like this? And making this more of an angle, so you're halfway between the two?
Well, for all of this back here
Mhm.
seems to be conforming. It's when we get to where the existing driveway is in this proposed line. So this red line would just extend more this way and then come down, giving 10 feet between
either
the
side.
line.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So it'd be more like
You got
that.
20.
yeah.
I mean, you're gonna be close. You're gonna be within 5 inches
Yeah.
of confirming.
Okay.
Conforming.
Mhm,
This would kind of come down, then,
mhm, yeah.
and then down to that.
Some
So
people
from
think
here to
five
here
feet
would be.
back.
the
But
10
then,
feet.
won't you have to make this a little bit farther away from here, is
Yeah.
why I'm saying if you brought it back here to give this more 10 feet, because this, from here to the corner of the house doesn't seem like it's 10 feet.
To be honest with you, I
Okay.
did this on a computer. That
Mhm.
might not be fully to scale, but we
Okay,
do
that
know
is
from
10.
the corner,
Okay,
it's gonna have to be 10.
Right.
I kind of leave that up to
So would you
10.
go,
right. So if
This
we
is a
brought it out a
big-
little more, that's what I'm saying, and you said you might like to have a little more backyard,
Kind of.
Mhm.
put that more of an angle, you
that
could
would
actually
be-
take a little bit more
I
of
think
that, you
that
still.
is 10
I
feet.
could. My problem is
that's
I'm
10
such
feet
a
there.
Yeah, I think he's all
non-abstract
conforming.
person. I
This
go
all
with
right up to
straight
your finger.
lines.
Yeah.
And, to have this be like a rectangular
mhm.
piece,
Even if you
but
can't
I
on
could
an
even,
angle or
shift
whatever
this.
way you
Back here, I'm
choose,
perfectly fine
it's
with.
just-
Mhm.
To be honest with you, the less grass I'm gonna have to mow moving forward, the better.
Mhm.
So I'm,
Well, you could just leave that like here and then go down with it here, but I'm just saying, if you move it over more, so you each are in the middle here
yeah,
of the corners. I don't know what that,
Yeah, I
that,
think that's
I don't
what
know
he's
what
doing.
that
yeah.
measures.
How this kind of landed where it was is, I just kind of came off of what that
Okay.
garden is 3 feet. And I figured that's where the fence is gonna go. And then I wanted to keep a foot on, the north side of the fence. Because it'll technically be my fence and
Mhm.
I want to be able to maintain it. I was told, have a little bit of land on the neighbor side of the fence, that's yours.
Well, because you want, you're gonna need 10 feet back here, if you're gonna put something up back there at some point.
Correct, yeah, I don't believe anything else will be
Okay.
put back up here
Alright.
building wise or anything. But, I think we have to focus on keeping that 10 feet anywhere there's parking.
Mhm.
So,
Well,
I
that sounds like
could,
a plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
if I had to, I wouldn't want to make this a shorter distance. I would
Right.
eliminate it and I would put my fence right along, just a split rail fence here. If that had to be right down in the middle. Now, if Greg should become receptive to shifting the driveway, getting rid of these two trees, shifting the driveway, making this a driveway that comes down to a parking area in the back, that would be easy. We divide this right down the middle. You got 20 feet, 20 feet. So that gives a 10-foot setback and then,
Right, like I saw that one.
exactly, that was the original plan.
Mhm.
But instead of doing a parking lot in the back, we were talking about
Right.
doing a easement.
Like you said, it's an expense to go through all the parking lot in the back and all that. stuff.
Yeah, especially at this late date, it's more work that needs to be done and.
So I think,
Okay.
so I'd go try the easiest one first.
Try that one.
Yep,
See
That
how-
one right there, just bring that from
exactly,
that point out 8 feet,
exactly.
on an angle and.
Yep.
That should
And
work.
if you do that, you need nothing from this commission.
Okay.
Or this committee.
Okay. Yeah, because that negates the need for a variance.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
What's a right of way consist of?
Oh, it's just illegal. It's like, your cousin has a right of way with this pipeline through it. So that was sold or given to him by probably Jesse Brown way back. But that always goes in perpetuity. So once you get granted right away,
You
it
go.
goes with the property.
Yeah, Sometimes
I
you
mean, that's
better-
the only other option out of there, right?
Well, that keeps
To give
it,
him a right of way.
it's better than a right of way. right away.
Yeah, to move the line's better than right away, but
I think so.
the right away is another option,
It just has value that you don't, it's arbitrary.
right?
All right. And what's good about this too is, I've got a shed back here, I have my motorcycle in and I, ride out to the road, so I have access from the backyard to the front yard, with that 10.
And you want to keep that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, if you just
Okay.
do that with that 8 feet off that one point, extend that out, and then you wouldn't even have to bother us.
Perfect. That seems the very simplest solution. And then just with the understanding that there is an invisible 10-foot setback on that whole dividing line. That, as long as it's us, it's not a problem, but if down the road. Now, the other thing down the road, if let's say I sell the property, the guy's a real jerk, he gives them a hard time. Greg could shift the driveway and put a parking lot in the back. He would have,
Right.
as long as I keep this line right down the middle. So that would
Yeah,
have to
but if
be,
you kick this over 10 feet, you're
Right.
fine. Even
Right.
if somebody else bought that, you have. a
He,
10-foot
he'll just,
setback.
he'll be able to have some parking area there, but he may have to extend it into the back.
right.
It does say in here in the common driveways, the planning and zoning commission shall endorse its approval on a plan of land showing the location of the common driveway once the applicant has satisfied the commission's requirements. And then the plan will be recorded in the registry of deeds. So
Right,
it's recorded as a common driveway if that's.
okay.
But you're not
But
going
we'll
down
do
that
that.
route. You're
Right,
not
you're
gonna.
not
Yeah.
doing, that's what I'm saying, that's what could better.
Yeah, exactly. This is the cleanest, less hassle down the road solution for
Yep.
sure. Okay, that,
Well, for you, even a common driveway benefits you more than the other guys.
Right.
yeah,
You know, if you said you want to make this a common driveway, that benefits you down the road or whoever buys this house.
right,
He doesn't have to use that driveway, but
right.
That's up to you if you decide to do that, but now you have three options.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Well, I think in fairness to everybody and being the best neighbor possible, to have it be legal, but to share the existing thing, because honestly, it is gonna be a lot easier, when I back out, a lot easier to encroach a little bit onto this property to pull out.
Sure.
And it's a lot easier when you're coming north for this guy to pull in here and then pull up to that one. So, Greg and I have no problem whatsoever having that understanding that it's, mutual, use it as you need it. We're working out a deal. I wanna sell my truck that has a plow. And I said, I'll make a deal with you, pay for the plowing and I'll pay for the dumpster. So, and that's the kind of guy Greg is. I don't know if you guys know him
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
but he's about the easiest person to get along with.
Yeah.
Right.
Great, okay,
Alright.
so that's the solution. So I'll make that adjustment and then I'll give some copies to Cheryl to make sure
Yeah.
that you guys get recorded.
Yep.
Well, there won't be anything
Won't be
for
any-
us to record because there's. no
Because we're not,
variance.
right,
Right.
got it.
So you don't, if you go with this, you don't have to worry about
Got
us at all.
Perfect. So I dragged all you guys out for nothing, huh? Sorry.
Well, not really. I mean,
You kind of helped yourself with a solution.
but if you, once you get that final thing, if you get the survey of moving that, then that way we can put it in the closed file and that way.
Yeah,
it's on-
yeah.
You know,
I know everything needs to be recorded, and all of these, Cheryl was telling me a little bit about the process, all of the variances and the map and everything has to be recorded and Paul, I guess.
But
takes care
there
of it.
isn't a variance.
yeah,
Well, the initial variance, the one to
Right.
allow me to
That,
split,
that,
that,
one,
yeah,
you have to have done. Like, yes,
exactly.
this is different.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate all of the brainstorming here, guys. I think we came up with a great solution. Sony, you want to keep one or two of these copies or?
sure, yeah. Scott, you have anything? You still with us? You still
Yeah,
there?
no, I agree. I think this is the cleanest way to approach this.
Okay,
Perfect. Excellent. Well, thank you, guys. I do
Okay.
appreciate
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
All right. Scott, I'm not sure who you are, but nice to meet you.
I think we,
Okay. How you doing, Scott? Thank you for joining us.
All righty. Good luck with everything.
All right. Thanks so much. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Take care.
you.
see ya.
there anything else on this agenda?
No,
I
this is,
move
There
that
was-
the special meeting be
or,
closed.
What was the discussion about regarding the annual meeting?
oh, yeah. Look bigger.
I just wanna know which month you're gonna do it. So.
Well, we'll keep it the same, no?
Yeah,
What are we keeping the same?
when,
The date?
after elections,
Well, it depends on who gets elected.
I think it's a wash of everybody getting elected.
Is that right? There's
Yeah.
no choice?
There's no opposition, right?
No,
I believe so.
Then you can't do it before the election.
no, we have to wait till after, so we gotta,
So our next regular meeting will have it as our annual meeting. Is that what we're gonna do? That makes sense?
It's up to you guys. You do it in November, you do it in December.
I think we can do it in November, our next meeting. Unless there's nothing to meet about. Except the annual meeting, so we can make that the reason to meet.
Yeah.
Which is November what,
19th.
19th. So that'll be the annual meeting.
Is that okay?
Yeah, because actually,
Good with you, Scott?
Yeah, it works for me.
okay. Plan 7 o'clock.
Now I move to adjourn our special meeting.
Second it.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carry. Meeting adjourned. See you the 19th of November.
If I remember.
Good.
That's 6:30, Matt.